I'm Oral Hershiser, and I am on the Blue Review. Hey, this is Sean Green. You're watching the Blue Review.
Bum, bum. Bum, bum. From HBC.
Oh, we had lasers?
Hollywood Park. Well, they won. They won. There were lasers. There was, live from Hollywood Park Casino. The Sedano Cat Morning Show will be here at Hollywood Park Casino. I'm just in a side room where, they got a whole bunch of stuff back there. But, ready to go. What's up, Marcus?
All right. What's going on? Welcome, everybody, to the Blue Review presented by LAX. I am Marcus Grant. That is Greg Bergman, as you can tell, at the Hollywood Park Casino. We'll be joined by our pal Anthony Witrado in just a bit. Dodgers with an off night last night, their first in a couple of weeks. After a stretch of 13 games in 13 days. So how far did you get on Love Island yesterday?
Not actually. I didn't even watch half of an episode, which I thought I would do more. Actually, I went to go see a buddy's new baby, so that spent most of my time away from the television.
That is probably a more productive use of your time last night. So that's good for you. Anyway, we'll get into some things from the Dodgers over the last week. Maybe look ahead to the weekend series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. But first, as always, want to let you know that the Blue Review is powered by LAX. From practice to prime time, the all-electric LAX Skylink is being put through its paces in testing, getting ready to deliver reliable and traffic-free airport experience. For more information, visit lawa.org/ESPN. By the way, if you guys have questions, too, you can throw them in the chat. We'll try to get to some of those as well during the show. But let us bring in our friend and co-conspirator, Anthony Witrado, who is nice enough to join us on Friday mornings. Anthony, a lot has happened since the last time we spoke. Your thoughts on just the Dodgers over the past week, the fact that they have put a sizable gap between themselves and everybody else in the division right now.
Yeah, I think it's going to feel like this for a little while. I don't know how many big series are left on the schedule, at least for the next month or so. And so it's just kind of, I think, sort of rolling through the motions a little bit for them and just seeing how consistent they can stay. And then there's the subplots, right? Kyle Tucker, does he stay hot? What happens in the 2-hole? Does Roki Sasaki and Emmett Sheehan figure it out? Like those kinds of things. When does Edwin Diaz come back? All that kind of stuff that sort of plays into this. But I think generally, as long as these weeks go, decently enough, there's not going to be any reason to sort of, cause a stir or cause a panic. So that's a good thing.
I was going to ask you, Anthony, because that's the thing Greg and I talked about earlier in the week was, does it concern you at all that there may not be any real intense type series, that because there is so much room between them and everybody else in the division, and even within the for the number one seed, they're starting to maybe put a little bit of space between themselves and the Brewers. There may not be any real games of note between now and September. Is that a problem?
I don't think so. Look, if you're going to say, winning the division too early is a problem, and they're going to come out rusty, and et cetera, I don't buy that so much. I would rather, especially with an older roster and a pitching staff that needs the rest, the way they manage the rotation. I take closing it out as early as possible and then managing it from there, as and avoiding that 3-game wild card series is critical, I think, because you never know what can happen. Like the Phillies might not win that division and might end up in the wild card. You do not want to face those guys, I don't think, with who they can throw at you. And so, that's first and foremost. Home field throughout is nice. But yeah, I think that you prioritize the rest over, well, we had to play competitive games into the last week of the season so that we're sharp. I don't buy that as an argument. And I think that over the last couple of years, the Dodgers have figured out a way to, and we don't have the barometer here because the last 2 years, unfortunately, they've had to play into the last week of the season. But I think that the way they've managed going into the postseason, sort of let's hunker down, it's just us, no families, like that sort of mentality and that kind of action, I think puts them in a different spot than they had been before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
I think
team.
there's something to it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
I think you're right. Yeah, no, you're good. I mean, we're all in different places now, so it's a little bit more difficult and different Wi-Fi's and whatnot. But either way, like the Dodgers have won in this World Series the last 2 years in two completely different ways. So I'm totally with you. I think they're seasoned in everything in every way possible, kind of to go into the postseason. And it seems like this one is just going to be another one where they just run away with the division. I'm looking forward to this being more so like the 2018 Boston Red Sox, where they just ran away and hid for the entire time. So that's hopefully the way that it goes, and they just kind of skate through it. I would like an easy postseason. I want an easy postseason through the whole way. We've had too many times where it's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Going 7 games is enough for me. I got my 7-game series. I got my amazing walk-off hits and all those kind of things. Let's just go and just sweep all the way through and just get out of it, get 3 and then done. You know what I mean? So let's just move on.
Last year's postseason was shaping up that way until the World Series.
Right. Yeah. Well, the World Series was not that way, and my heart cannot take another one of those. I don't think. You brought something up, and Marcus, I want to get your thought too. There's the other day on Dodger Blue, and I think it was just Dave Roberts, but brought it up. You mentioned the 2 spot earlier. Who do you think should be in that 2 spot? He mentioned I think we've all 3 talked about it. I've mentioned Tommy Edman before. Right now, it's obviously Andy Pages. Marcus has said that he wants Mookie Betts back in there. I think you did as well. I mentioned Will Smith in there. Who's the right guy for the 2 spot, with Dave Roberts saying he has thought about and toyed with the idea of moving Tommy Edman to the 2 spot?
Yeah, I think that for me right now, it probably feels like Tommy Edman. I think the quality of his at-bats have been good enough that you start to think like, okay, maybe this is a spot he can occupy and give us what we need. Ultimately, I would like it to be Mookie Betts. I don't know if that necessarily comes into play. I thought Kyle Tucker, if he's Kyle Tucker, was a really good fit in that, just even with the lefty at the top of the order. The bottom line is they got to move Pages out of there. And they got to get somebody in there who can be some sort of threat behind Ohtani, because, part of him not having the Ohtani kind of season, aside from he's doing both things full time now, because that is a major, major part of this, is that the 2-hole has been essentially non-existent in terms of a production, a spot in the order. So, it hurts him too. So they need to get somebody in there who has a pulse and who can be, somewhat useful. I think right now, as we speak about it, Tommy Edman's probably the best candidate.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He's come up, and since he's come back from the injured list, has been fantastic. And I do like the fact that you have a switch hitter in that spot. Not that it matters when you talk about the top of the Dodger order. Whether it's Shohei, whoever it is at the number 2 spot, then Freddie, all those. You're not worried about moving them out because they suddenly bring a left-hander in out of the bullpen. So I get that part of it. But it is sort of nice to have that guy potentially in Edman who can hit from both sides of the plate in any situation. You can sort of leave him in late in ball games if that's the case. So I do think he's the guy. I mean, yeah, I know I've said Mookie Betts in the past, but while he's still kind of trying to find it, I don't know that I would mess with where he's hitting in the order right now. I think we're all in agreement that it can't be Andy Pages long-term, because he's too streaky, I think, to have in that spot. And when he's going bad, he's generally going really bad. So it does seem like it's a tough spot to put him in. So I don't know. Where have you landed on this, Greg?
Yeah, no, I think Tommy Edman's where I've landed on. I think he's the right guy. Now, there's 2 different things here. So right now in the regular season, especially with no Will Smith, I think Tommy Edman is the guy. But when we move into the postseason, as long as everyone is hitting at their capabilities, I feel like Will Smith is still the right guy to be in that spot, like he was in the World Series. That's Tommy Edman, we've all talked about it before, in that 9 spot as a secondary leadoff hitter. He can move throughout and be just fine. Like I feel like he's just a solid, consistent hitter who can, no matter where you put him, is going to do the same things. He can hit home runs. He does have the power, but also he's going to hit little slap singles, and he's going to get on base. And I really like the idea of him being the switch hitter at the bottom of the lineup. So right now and through the next couple months, I love Tommy Edman, but in my opinion, Will Smith, when we get to the more important times, and maybe it's not till later in the postseason, but I think Will Smith being in that spot is the right place.
He's got to be producing, though.
Of course.
Yeah.
As long as everyone is up to their capabilities.
Yeah.
Another big thing from the week, Anthony, Alex Call. I think we were all horrified to see what happened the other night with him blowing 2 challenges on consecutive pitches in the bottom of the first inning. My suggestion, partially tongue-in-cheek, was that all the hitters should go up to the plate with a wristband, sort of like NFL quarterbacks have for like play calls, or that the play call sheet that lets coaches know when to go for 2. Just so they have some sort of guideline on when they can challenge. But I mean, in all seriousness, how should they approach this? Because it seems like even now into mid-July, I don't think there's a unifying theory on when and how to challenge pitches.
I think the one thing that they should be unified on at this point is that Alex Call's permissions are hereby revoked. Unless it's the 9th inning and you're the tying run, you cannot challenge anything anymore. That was completely ridiculous. So let's all agree on that. Aside from that, look, I think their overall philosophy is we want to leave these for our catchers unless it's a big spot offensively for us, meaning a leverage spot, and that probably also means like 6th inning and beyond. Do they all follow that? Probably not. I don't think that's a hard and fast rule from what I've come to understand from people I've talked to. But that is sort of what they would like to do. Now, no one's getting scolded if they challenge a call in the 3rd inning. But what Alex Call did the other days was ridiculous. Like, and the smile. I like Alex Call, but like the smirk on his face afterward too, like kind of pissed me off. Like it was. Like, come on, man. And then there were situations, right, and I'm glad it got called out. Like, there were situations later, I think there was one with Mookie maybe, where a challengeable call in a spot you would probably want to challenge, and they didn't have any left because they blew him in the 1st inning. So, I think that's sort of what their general philosophy is. I don't know that any team is going to ever have a, like, hard and set, written in stone kind of, tablet that they bring out and say, here are the rules on how we challenge. I think they just more so try to have guidelines, and I think that's what the Dodgers do.
Yeah, I have thought it's interesting to listen to Eric Karros over the course of the season. Sort of, I won't say a 10 commandments, but if you listen to EK, he does very much have some thoughts, some very strong thoughts on it. He definitely had some very strong thoughts on what Alex Call did the other night for sure. So yeah.
I like that. I really appreciate the fact that Eric Karros does not give 2 Fs about what he says on there. The only thing he cares about is whether or not he's talking about his son. He's like, nope, not going to do it. Not going to say anything about him. But everything else, it doesn't matter. That was a terrible swing. What is this guy doing? Like he's just completely unfiltered, and I love it so much. It's just such a difference between him and Oral. So the 2 of them, I love listening to both of them. But EK's right. Also, like these challenges, you have to have some sort of strategy behind all of it, and it seems like there is a strategy behind it, like in big moments. But how Alex Call thought to himself, this is a good moment for me to use 2 different challenges is beyond me. I don't see how he thought to himself, oh, you know what? I used the first one. I lost it. It was really close call. But you know what? This one that's right into the middle of the plate or in the corner of the plate, that one's a good one to challenge to. Well, back to back. Great. Sounds good.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. By the way, Greg, Eric Karros will talk about his son, but he will talk about him as though his name were like Kyle Jones or something. Like he just talks about him like he's right, like he's just a regular, everyday player and not, his own son. So there's that part of it.
But what do you want from him? Do you want him?
Yeah.
What do you want?
Oh no, I mean, look,
to talk to his son. I don't care if you said like, hey, there you go, buddy. Like he's happy for his son. Well, he's all fine with that. Who cares?
Anthony mentioned this in our group chat, right? Like I think the first time they played, I think it might have been a spring training game or was it an early season game. Like, there was not a big deal, but like the acknowledgement, right? Hey, Kyle Karros. Hey, familiar last name. I wonder why. Ha ha ha. And I think since then he's just kind of put it on the back burner and moved on with it, which I think is perfectly fine. I think he's perfectly professional. But we all sit there and we watch and we understand what's happening, and and I'm sure that deep down when Kyle does something, I'm sure there is a he's got a proud dad feeling, but he also understands what broadcast he's on and who is who's signing the check on a given day. So no, I think he's perfectly professional about it. I don't think there's anything wrong with what he's doing. It's just a thing that's always going to amuse me, the way he refers to Kyle Karros.
I'm with you. I think he has handled it really well. I think if you popped in from Cincinnati and didn't know, one guy from the other, you wouldn't think anything of it. And I think that's what they're going for. Like he's just another dude. And it is funny because we know, and everybody knows typically who listens to that Dodger broadcast that, Eric is his dad. And so we all kind of, I think, wait for like some sort of acknowledgement and he's not going to do it, to his credit. Like, I think I understand why. I mean, like if he hit a home run or something like that, there might be, Joe or Nelly or whoever might be on with them might say like, hey, proud papa moment. And I'm sure he'd be like, yeah, that's nice for him. Like, good job or whatever. But I do like the fact that they don't call it out anymore too much. Like they just let Eric do his job in the booth and they just go about it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Absolutely. I want to dig into a question from the chat because it also kind of takes me in a direction, or takes us in a direction I kind of wanted to go. Laura asking, do we still believe Detroit will trade Tarik Skubal? The Tigers in the midst of a majorly disappointing season. They are 7 games below 500. I guess technically they're sort of in the wild card race. They're 3.5 back in the wild card, but they also have to leapfrog like 4 teams to get there. So, I mean, Greg, I guess 2-part question. 1, do you think the Tigers are trading Skubal? And 2, are the Dodgers picking up the phone about it?
So for the first question, they damn well better trade him. I mean, you cannot be like the Angels and not trading Shohei Ohtani and get absolutely nothing for him. When they decided wanted to go to arbitration with Tarik Skubal, they basically said, we're trading you or he's going to walk and get absolutely nothing. I can't see a scenario where he's back in the Tigers uniform next year. They screwed that whole thing up, so they better trade him. Only reason I think the Dodgers would get into this race, 1, because he's Tarik Skubal, and 2, because you don't want somebody else to get him. I was on Mason and Ireland yesterday, and they were talking about there was rumors of the Milwaukee Brewers going after Tarik Skubal. That then makes them a very, very scary team. I mean, now if you're going 1-2 with Jacob Misiorowski and Tarik Skubal, that's right on par when you can argue it whatever way you want of Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So that makes them a very scary team. Now, I still don't believe that the Brewers' style of offense works in the postseason, especially not against this Dodger team, but it's one that just beats you by a million cuts. So I think he gets traded. I do think the Dodgers look into it, but I don't think they end up with him.
I mean, Anthony, you have to figure out what he would want next year, right? Because there's no way. I mean, one, we know Andrew Friedman doesn't like to overpay for pitching at the deadline, but also then you got to figure out what is coming next. There's no way they would just throw out a bunch of assets and have Tarik Skubal as like a 2-month rental, would they?
I don't see it, and that's never been their MO with a guy like that, unless they could get him for cheap. And so I think that they do pick up the phone and they probably do have conversations. And I think the Tigers want to use the Dodgers as leverage with other teams as well. And so I think the Tigers probably keep calling Andrew Friedman after that initial conversation, if it's already happened or not. But I don't see them giving up the prospect capital. I think that the Tigers are going to ask for a dozen starts maybe. Maybe less than that. So I think that there's interest there, but I don't think it ultimately happens with the Dodgers. And to answer the first part of that, they put themselves in a position where they think they have to trade him, even if they're in the race. You cannot you cannot drop the ball in asset management in that way, because they've already put out there that they're not going to re-sign him, which I think is a huge mistake. And that's a team that can afford to. And so if you're not going to do that and you're going to stand on that business stupidly, then you have to get something for him, even if you're in the race. And that's the corner they painted themselves in, because the guy makes you better. But when you've set that precedent now, you can't let him play out the season, not win the World Series. He walks without even talking to you, and you get absolutely nothing for him.
Well, and I think when you say the Tigers are in the race, like, yeah, they are technically in the race, but I think if you look at the makeup of that team, you look at how they've played this year, I don't think there's any way you can say they are better than the Rays or the Yankees. I mean, at this point, even the White Sox or the Guardians. I mean, they are a team that if they somehow slide into the playoffs, anything past the wild card round feels like house money for this group. So, you're not really truly a World Series contender. And now you're talking about potentially losing what could be a major asset, a major trade chip, and getting nothing for him. I don't know. I'm thinking about a two-way player that was down in Orange County and somehow walked away without his franchise getting anything, and now he's winning World Series several miles up the road. Just kind of a weird thought. I don't know. But that does beg the question, Greg. What do the Dodgers do, if anything, at the trade deadline? Do they make a move, or do they just wait to get healthy?
Yeah, so I think waiting to get healthy is probably the way they go. I think they do something. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think we've talked about it. We talked about it on the radio station consistently with Travis and DeMarco, with Mason and Ireland, and with Dono Cap. It doesn't matter. I don't think they have much of a weakness. I mean, I don't think they need bullpen help. That's the greatest words in the history of words for Andrew Friedman. Of I don't have to get
thanks,
bullpen
Greg.
help. Yeah, right. Right. Well, but I don't think they do. But with Evan Phillips coming back and Brock Stewart coming back, and then Emmett Sheehan and Justin Wrobleski and possibly Roki Sasaki all going to the pen, and what you have already in there with Tanner Scott and Edwin Diaz and Edgardo Henriquez, and the list goes on and on and on. That I think you should be fine. Now, they might go out and get somebody anyway, because that's the way it has to be. I also think that, this is an off season that is this is a trade deadline I think is extremely interesting, because you don't know. They have so much talent in the minor leagues, and Dalton Rushing is a guy that doesn't have a long-term future here with the team, not because of his abilities, because he's blocked everywhere. He can't play 2 times a week for the rest of his career. That doesn't make sense. So they have the ability to trade things, and with the CBA being all messed around with after the season, now would be the time to make a lot of those moves. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't think they need something specifically, maybe a backup catcher, but that's about all I can see.
Yeah.
And you're welcome, Anthony.
I will say catcher is a point where there's a lack of depth, certainly up and down the system. I know the draft is coming. They don't have that many draft picks, so we'll see what they do there. But maybe the trade deadline is a way to sort of restock that position at the minor league level as well. So we will certainly see about that. 3-game series starts at home. The last series before the All-Star break, the Arizona Diamondbacks coming into town. Shohei Ohtani on the mound against Eduardo Rodriguez tonight. First pitch at 7:10 for that one. Back with you on Monday to talk about it. Anthony, as always, appreciate seeing you on a Friday, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Awesome. Stick around. The Sedano and Cap Morning Extravaganza live from Hollywood Park Casino coming up right after us. Thanks to everybody in the chat for hanging out. I saw a couple more questions. Sorry we didn't get to those before we ran out of time. We can maybe save those for another time. But thanks to Carlo and Tim for production assistance. For Anthony, for Greg, I'm Marcus. Spin the Blue Review. Presented by LAX. We'll see you Monday morning, 6:30 to 6:55 here on the ESPN LA YouTube channel.
Yep.